Good morning, students. Today we are going to learn about the lesson chapter 2 in physics, which is motion. What is meant by motion? Motion is the phenomenon in which an object changes its position over time. So, what is meant by that? So, if any object moves or changes its position, or when you move an object or when you yourself move from one place to another place, then that is known as the motion. In our daily life, we see different types of examples for the motions, like trains moving, birds flying, aeroplanes flying, or children playing catches with a ball. So all these are the examples of the motion. And moreover, the sunrise, sunset, and the changes in the season also occur due to the motion of the earth, right? So because of the movement of the earth only, we are getting the sunrise, sunset, day, night, and also changing in the. So now we understood the concept what is meant by motion. So now we are going to learn about what is the relativity. Relativity means there must be a relation. So let us see the statement, this water is a triangular. Is there any meaning for that statement? There is no meaning for the statement. Can there be any water? We already learned in the previous lesson that water or any type of liquid doesn't have any shape. It contains only the volume. So the above statement, the water is triangular, is not at all meaningful. In this sentence, it is grammatically correct, and also the words used in the sentence are also meaningful, but they are not related to each other. So that is the reason why the sentence is not at all meaningful. So if in order to be a meaning, we must use relative words. In the same way, a statement has a meaning only when there is a relation between the words. So words madhya relation anedi undali. So let us observe the concept which have the meaning depending on the situations, like right and left and up and down. So see the figure. In the figure, two persons A and B are moving from, A is coming from the left side and B is coming from the right side. To some people, according to the picture perspective. Otherwise, if we come to our perspective, A is coming from the right side and B is coming from the left side. So there is a house on the side of the road. What will happen? They are going to observe the house or the tree beside the house, and A thinks that the house is on his right side, whereas B thinks that the house is on his left side. So it is changing with the person and the perspective and the observer. So A is observing that the house is on the right side, whereas B is observing that the house is on the left side. So here, from the perspective of A, house is on the right, and from the perspective of the B, house is on the left. So it changes from person to person, and depending upon the point from which you are observing. In the same way, let us see this figure, which is our globe. And on the globe, see here, four persons are standing in the four different directions: person A, person B, person C, and person D. So everyone is holding a flag that they are on the upward side. So from our perspective, if we see figure A, the person A is on the upward side and person B is on the downward side. At this current position of the globe, if we rotate the globe, or if we rotate the picture, then what will happen? Person B will be on the upward side and person A will be on the downward side. In the same way, if we again rotate the picture, C will come to the upward position and D will come to the downward position. So depending upon the rotation of the globe and the perspective of the observer, we can say that a person position changes. That is, A is up and B is down initially, whereas when the earth rotates, then C will go to the upward side and D will go to the downward side. But the person doesn't know that they are in the downward direction or they are in the sideways, because for each and every person the observer is not moving but the globe is moving, so they doesn't feel the motion, and that is why when they get rotated they will change their positions and they doesn't have the knowledge of their changing in the position. So next, let us see this, let us observe this picture. So when we are going to consider if two objects are relatively in the motion, so what will happen and how will they get observed? So let us see here in the first picture, where the perspective is from the two persons standing here, Somesh and Srinu. So Somesh and Srinu are thinking, they while they are talking on the road, they saw a car moving. What did they find? According to them, the car is moving and it is moving towards the east. That is what they have thought. And when coming from the motion of the when coming to the perspective of the passenger in the car, so according to them, the tree and the persons are moving. According to the Somesh and Srinu, the car is moving but the tree is constant. Whereas for the passenger and in the driver in the car, for them the person standing on the road and the tree are moving and towards the direction of the west. So the motion of an object changes from person to person depending on perspective. So that is relative motion. The motion or rest of an object depends on the observer. So motion is a combined property of the observer and the body which is being observed. So when the observer and the object which is being observed, depending upon those two only, we can conclude about the motion of a particular object or a person. Therefore we can define the term of the motion as, how can we define the motion? A body is said to be in motion when its position is changing continuously with time relative to an observer. So when the object or the position is object and its position, or a person and his position is changing continuously with time, when they are being observed by an observer, then the particular object or the person is said to be in motion. Next, scalar and vector quantities. So let us now observe the terms scalar quantity and vector quantity. So what is meant by scalar quantity? The physical quantity that has only magnitude and which does not require any direction for its specification is called a scalar. So what is meant by magnitude? That is a difficult term you people are going to face. So the magnitude is nothing but the value. So distance, when we find that a person is traveling 100 kilometers or 50 kilometers or 5 kilometers, what are you going to say there? You are going to say only the number, that the person has traveled only this many kilometers. So there you are using what? You are using only the number. So which is dependent only on the number is known as a scalar quantity. And if we are going to specify the direction, that person is going in the east and he is traveling 5 kilometers towards the east, if you specify any direction in the sentence along with the magnitude, that is along with the quantity of how many kilometers he has traveled, along with the value of how many kilometers he has traveled, then it is said to be a vector quantity. So if you does not mention any kind of direction and if you are giving only the value, then that value is considered as a scalar quantity. So for example, in the sentence, if we say like this, like a person has traveled 5 kilometers in 1 hour, then there we are specifying only the value which is 5 kilometers, hence it is a scalar quantity. Whereas in the vector quantity, if we say that the person has traveled 5 kilometers towards east in 1 hour, then there you are specifying the direction along with the value. So it is known as vector quantity. So magnitude is nothing but the value. Okay, and the magnitude and the direction, all these are together give us a vector quantity, and the single magnitude itself gives us a quantity scale. So now since we have understood the terms scalar quantity and vector quantity, now we are going to the next concept, which is known as distance and the displacement. And those scalar and vector quantities are helpful in understanding the distance and the displacement. So let us see the following activity. Let us perform an activity. Okay, so here A and B are the 2 points. Let us say 2 persons. A and B are the 2 persons, and here A is throwing a ball to the B. So how is he throwing? He is throwing the ball at some angle with the floor. Okay, instead of throwing the ball parallel to the floor, he has thrown the ball at some angle. Then what will happen? What will happen is the ball will travel in some specific directions, in some angle to the B, whereas the ball from A will go to the B. So here the distance which has been traveled by the ball is ASB. Okay, so S represents the distance and ASB is the distance that has been traveled by the ball. Next it is now let us understand the displacement. What did we mention there? Displacement, and the main thing you have to understand is distance is a scalar quantity, whereas displacement is a vector quantity. And in the previous slide we have learned scalar quantity needs only magnitude, the value is enough, whereas for the vector quantity it needs both value and the direction. So here let us see, the distance is ASB, it is the path the ball has been traveled, whereas for the displacement AB is the shortest distance where the ball has been traveled, and the direction in which the ball has been thrown is represented by, see here, one arrow is there upward which is represented with V. So that is the direction in which the ball has been thrown, and AB is the distance the ball has been traveled. So AB is the distance and V is the direction, and these two represent the displacement. So let us see. In the above example, ASB shows the actual distance covered by an object, and AB is the displacement, which is a straight line drawn from initial position to the final position of the object. So there A is the final position, A is the initial position and B is the final position of the object. So AB is called as displacement vector. Okay, what is it called? AB is called as displacement vector. The SI, standard international unit, the SI unit of the distance or the displacement is meter and denoted by M. So other units like kilometer, centimeter, etc. are also used to express this quantity. So we can say short distances, you can say meters, but in terms of long distances, like if you are measuring the distance between the two cities, then you cannot measure with a single unit meter, so we require their kilometers. And in the same way, if you are measuring the shortest distance, like using your scale, you are drawing a diagram, then what will you measure? In which terms you will measure? You will measure in the terms of centimeters. So other units like kilometer, centimeter are also used to measure the distance or the displacement. So and you already know that 1 kilometer is equal to 100 meters and 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. Speed, average speed and average velocity is equal to total displacement divided by total time taken. Okay, so the quantities average speed and average velocity explain the motion of a body in a given time interval. both the speed and both the displacement. What will they tell us? They will tell us the motion of the object or a person. Since the person or the object moves, if the person or object moves depending only on the magnitude, then we'll get the speed and the distance. Whereas if the person moves in the particular direction along with the magnitude, then we will get the displacement and the velocity. Is that clear? Okay, next let us observe the how to measure the average speed and the average velocity. So average speed, so average speed is let us say let us take one situation. Choose 2 points, say 50 meters apart in school. Okay, so here the activity they have taken is, they have taken the two groups of children and they have made them stand 50 meters apart. That is, the distance between those 2 points A and B will be 50 meters, and one group of students are given the task of measuring the time which has been taken by the students of other group to travel from one point to the other. Like say here, point A, the students who are standing at point A will hold the stopwatches, and let us say and the group at to run from one point to the other. Okay, so or otherwise you can do the opposite thing also. We can ask the students at the point A to stand and wait, and whereas the students at the point B to give them the stopwatches so that they will measure the time. Okay, so here they have given point students at the point B to note the time by giving them the stopwatches. What did the students at the point B do? They have started the stopwatches when students at the point A have been told to run. When the student A have started to run, students at the point B have started their stopwatches. And when they have reached the point B, students at point A, when they have reached the point B, students at the point B have stopped the stopwatches. So why did they stop the stopwatches? Because they are noting the time. How much time did they take to travel this distance? So let us see, in students at point A have different student will run at a different time. Yes or no? Because we did not draw any particular path, we did not draw any line, we did not conduct any running race. We have just made them stand there and asked them to run when we told the start. So they have started running. So student A1 has reached at time T1. In the same way, student A2 has reached time T2, and student A3 has reached time T3, taken time T3 to reach the point B. And did they follow the same path? No. Some people have taken short path, some people have taken long path, some people have taken different paths. So since we did not ask them to move in a one particular path, they have taken different paths and they reached the destination or point B. So the average speed, okay, less time taken, student will have the more speed. Yes or no? If the time taken by the first student is 5 seconds, then the answer will be 50 by 5, which is 10. Otherwise, if the time taken by the student A2 is 10 seconds, then the answer will be 5. In the same way, time taken by the A3 student is 2 seconds, then 50 divided by 2, which is 25. So first student will have 10. In the same way, second student will have, let us say, 5 means how much we will get? 50 divided by 5, which is 10. So in the same way, last student, if we consider the first student and the last student, what will happen? First student is 50 divided by 5, which is 10, is the average speed of that person, and the last student will be 50 divided by 2, which is 25. So the speed of the A3 student is more when compared to the speed of the A1 student. So it differs basing on the speed of the particular children and the path they have taken. So now average velocity. Suppose if we have given them one particular path, like we have asked them to move in a, we have drawn the lines and we have asked them to stand in their paths itself, and we have asked them to move when we asked the students to start, we told them to start. So then they will start running from point A to the point B. So what will happen there? Each and every student is traveling in the particular direction. So in the previous example, that is when we are measuring the average speed, no student is traveling in a particular definite path. They are traveling in the path they like. And here each and every student is traveling in one particular path, that too in the one particular direction. So now we are going to measure the time taken by the each and every student, and we will measure the average velocity. So maybe the formula is same, but the concept and the path they are applying is different. So in the previous example, that is when we are considering the average speed, students are following only the path but not the particular direction. They are also not following any particular path. They are following the path they consider as a comfortable. Now while measuring the average velocity, each and every student is traveling in a definite path and in the definite direction. So that differs between the average speed and the average velocity. Next, instantaneous speed. So now let us observe the concept instantaneous speed. Speed gives the idea of how fast the body moves. The speed at any instant is called instantaneous speed. So let us observe. Let us say when you are driving a car or a bike, so when you want to check how much speed you are going, you will see the speedometer and you will observe that you are traveling with a particular speed, yes or no. So the speed at any instant is known as instantaneous speed. So how are we measuring the instantaneous speed? Instantaneous speed, when you observe here, distance and time are both the quantities which are required to measure the speed, because the formula of the speed is distance traveled by the time. So let us see here, s1 is the distance traveled by the first in one particular time, like t1, and s2 is the distance traveled by the one particular time, t2. Let us say s1 is the source and s2 is the destination, and t1 is the time they have measured while they have traveled the distance s1, and t2 is the time they have traveled after reaching the destination. So in the middle, while they are traveling, they wanted to measure the speed. So how will they measure the speed? They'll consider the particular distance where they are traveling and at what time they have checked the distance, and they will see s3 divided by t3, they will get the instant speed at the particular point. So let us see here, how will they get s3? Because s2 minus s1, s2 is the total distance, so s1 is the initial distance. So final distance minus initial distance, s2 minus s1 divided by t2 minus t1. t2 is the final time, t1 is the initial time, t2 minus t1 will get the s3 and the t3, which will give the resulting speed at that instant. So instantaneous, even if we try to reduce the s2 and s1, the speed at the instant doesn't change. So the instantaneous speed is represented by the slope of the curve at a given instant of time. So here the distance, when you draw a graph between the distance and the time, then you are observing that here you are getting a curve. So when you are going to draw a tangent at one particular point where you are going to measure the distance, then where you are going to measure the speed, then you will get the instant speed. We can find the slope of the curve at any point on it by drawing a tangent to the curve at that point. The slope of the curve gives speed of the car at that instant. Okay, so slope of the curve gives the speed of the car at that instant. If the slope is large, the speed is high, and if the slope is small, then the speed is low. So when you draw up, so in order to measure the instantaneous speed, you have to draw a tangent to the curve at that particular point where you want to measure the instantaneous speed. So if you draw a tangent, then you can find out the slope of the curve. By finding the slope of the curve, you can find the instantaneous speed. So if the slope is large, then the speed is high. If the slope is small, then the speed is low. In the same way, you can also find the instantaneous velocity. As I have told you in the earlier slides, velocity, the main difference between the speed and the velocity is the direction. Velocity will also have the direction, whereas speed will have only the magnitude. So velocity of the speed of an object is in a specified direction. The velocity at any instant is called instantaneous velocity. So the SI unit of SI, what is meant by SI? The standard international unit. So the standard international unit of the velocity is meters per second. It is same for the speed and it is same for the velocity. Okay, so velocity is a vector. Why it is known as a vector? Because it has a direction and it can be represented by a directed line segment. Its length indicates speed and arrow indicates the direction of the motion. So let us see the figure of the van here. So here there is one arrow mark horizontally which is indicating V. What does that V represent? It indicates the speed. And let us see here one arrow mark which is indicating upward, and here N has been written. What is that N represents? N represents north direction. So one arrow is indicating the speed and one arrow is indicating the direction, so that we can find the velocity, which is a vector quantity basing on both the speed and the direction. So next, if a body moves in a curved path, so here the van is moving on the plain road, straight road, so it has no problem. But let us consider if a van is traveling on a let us say some curved path or some ghat road, let us say. So when van is climbing up the hill, it has to move in a curved path. So what will happen? The tangent drawn at a point on the curve gives direction of velocity in that instant. So for the speed or for the velocity, even if you have to find out the instantaneous speed or even if you have to find out the instantaneous velocity, you have to draw a tangent. You have to draw the tangent to the curve and you have to find the slope, and like that you are going to get the values of the instantaneous speed and instantaneous velocity. Is that clear? Okay, so now we are going to the next concept, which is known as uniform motion. So when do we consider that the object is in the uniform motion? So we will consider only the object is said to be in the uniform motion when its velocity is constant. Constant means uniform velocity. So if the object is moving with the uniform velocity, then it is said to be in the uniform motion. Understanding the uniform motion, let us understand this one. So let us take here one example. One cyclist is there. Okay, he is moving on a straight road. So the distance covered by him with respect to the time is given here. Let us see here. When the time is 0 seconds, he did not cover any distance, so the distance is also 0 meters. When the time is 1 second, he has covered 4 meters. When the time is 2 seconds, he has covered 8 meters. When the time is 3 seconds, he has covered 12 meters. And when the time is 4 seconds, he has covered 16 meters. So let us see. Here, when you apply the formula of the velocity, let us see here. What is the formula of the velocity? Displacement divided by time. So 16 divided by 4, 12 divided by 3, 8 divided by 2, 4 divided by 1. So how much is the value you are getting here? 16 divided by 4 is 4, 12 divided by 3 is 4, 8 divided by 2 is 4, 4 divided by 1 is 4. So here you are getting the same value for the velocity. From that value you can observe that he is in the uniform motion. Why? Because the velocity is constant throughout. When he started at the 1 second or when he is at the 4 seconds, his velocity is the same, which is 4 meters per second. So that person is moving with the uniform velocity, so that is why he is said to be in the uniform motion. And when you plot the graph using the values here, so you will get a linear graph. If the graph is like this in the straight line, then it is said to be in which state? Linear graph. Okay. Next, let us see the non-uniform motion. What is meant by non-uniform motion? If the velocity is changing, then it is said to be in the non-uniform motion. Uniform motion means velocity is constant. When velocity changes, then it is said to be non-uniform motion. So again observe that same cyclist example itself. So consider a cyclist moving on a straight road. So that person is moving on the road, and here see the timings and the distance he has covered. So let us see 1. For 1 second he has covered 1 distance and for 1 meter, and whereas for the 2 seconds he has covered 4 meters, and for the 3 seconds he has covered 9 meters, and for the 4 seconds he has covered 16 meters. So when you observe or when you apply the formula, let us apply the formula here. 16 divided by 4 is 4, 9 divided by 3 is 3, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 1 divided by 1 is 1. So here the value of the velocity is changing. So for at 1 second, when the time is 1 second, the velocity is 1 meter per second. When the time is 2 seconds, the velocity is 2 meters per second. When the time is 3 seconds, then the velocity is 3 meters per second, and when the time is 4 seconds, then the velocity is 4 meters per second. So here the velocity is changing continuously. So the person is said to be on the non-uniform motion. And when you draw a graph by plotting these values, then you will get a non-linear graph or a graph. Okay, so that is the concept of uniform motion and the non-uniform motion. So based for the non-uniform motion, let us observe the following examples. Okay, so now we are going to observe the one activity where we are taking a inclined plane. What is meant by inclined plane? Slant plane. Slant plane we are taking, and we are taking a ball, and we are holding the ball at the top of the plane, and we are releasing the ball. And when the ball is traveling slantly towards the bottom, then the time it has taken is 2 seconds. See here in the first figure, let us see here ball moving down the inclined plane, figure 12. There, when the time is 0 seconds, the ball is, we are holding the ball, and when we release it, the ball started moving, and at the time is 1 second, the ball is in the middle of the inclined plane, and when the time is 2 seconds, the ball has traveled towards the end of the plane. So the ball is moving downwards the plane. And again let us observe this one here. The ball is moving upward the inclined plane. So see here, here the time is 0 seconds, and here the time is 1 second, and here the time is 2 seconds. So in the both the cases, same ball, same plane. Then what is changing here? Same time it has taken. Okay, so here the time it has taken is 2 seconds going downwards the plane, and here also it has taken 2 seconds going upward the plane. So what is the main difference here we can observe? Yes, we can here observe the change in the direction. So here the ball is moving downward and here the ball is moving upward. So we know that both velocity is determined basing on both the direction and the magnitude. So even if it has traveled the same distance in the same time, one time it has traveled in the downward direction and in the other time it has traveled in the upward direction. So since there is a change direction of the ball movement, here the velocity has been changed. So since the velocity has been changed, then it is a non-uniform motion. Yes or no? Yes, it is a non-uniform motion. Let us observe another example here. Circular motion. So what is going on here? Here what we did the activity of taking a stone and we have tied one thread around the stone and we have started rotating it. Or otherwise you can do the another way, or you can see you can take a keychain and you can rotate it. So what is going on here? The keychain or the stone in this example is moving in which path? Circular path. It is rotating round and round and round. It is moving in the circular path. And when you draw the tangent, so instantaneous velocity here you are finding. Instantaneous velocity, how did we find out in the previous slides? We have drawn one tangent at the particular point where we want to find the velocity. So we have drawn the tangent here. What is tangent? We have drawn the line perpendicular to the path. So see here. Here we have drawn at this point we have drawn one particular perpendicular line, and again after going somewhat forward we have drawn another tangent like that. Throughout the circular path we have drawn the tangents. Did we get the same direction of velocity? No, we did not get the same direction of velocity. We got different directions of velocity. So here we in the previous example, here the velocity is changing its position. Yes or no? So direction is changing. It is clear that the path is a circle and the direction of velocity is changing at every instant of time. Maybe the stone is moving with particular speed, or let us say the keychain you are rotating is moving with a particular speed, but the direction of the velocity is changing here, and velocity is depending both on the speed and the direction, magnitude and the direction. Even though the magnitude is constant, that is speed is constant, here the direction is changing. Since the direction is changing, the velocity is changing. Since the velocity is changing, it is a non-uniform motion. Even though it appears like a uniform circular motion, since the velocity is changing at each and every instant, it is a non-uniform motion. Let us consider another example for this non-uniform motion. Let us see some stone thrown into the air making some angle with the horizontal. So let us say you are walking on the road, you took one stone and you thrown it for some time pass, and you have thrown that stone, and what did happen there? So the stone has been traveled from the point A to the point B, and which path? It had made some angle with the ground, right? It did not go parallelly to the ground. It has gone with some angle to the point B. So when it is making that angle, what did happen there? Its velocity has been changed. And even if you observe the instantaneous velocity there, at point A the instantaneous velocity direction is different, and at the point B it will be different, and at again in the near the S, let us see here, it will be again different. So there the velocity's direction is also changing, and again you can also notice that both the speed is also changing. Why? Because when you are throwing the stone is going upward opposite to the direction of the gravity and opposite to the earth, and again if the stone is falling down and then it is falling towards the earth, so there will be more speed because earth is attracting that stone, so there will be more speed when it is reaching the ground. So the speed is changing here, and in the same way the velocity is also changing. Okay, direction is changing. So velocity changes when either speed changes or the direction changes or both changes. So in this example, here the speed is changing and the direction is also changing. That is why here the velocity is also changing. So since the velocity is changing, it is a non-uniform. So from the three activities, what are the three activities we have performed? One is throwing the ball on an inclined plane. There the speed is constant, that is you are releasing as it is, say with the same speed, and it has taken the same time, but the direction is different, right? And in the second one, so speed changes while the direction remains constant, or the direction of the motion changes with the speed remaining constant. So and both direction and speed change simultaneously. So these are the three activities. One is the inclined plane, one is a stone moving in the circular path, and the other is in the throwing a stone. So in all the three activities, what did we see here? Speed. What did we observe? Because why did we call them as the non-uniform motions? Because speed changes with the direction remaining constant, direction of motion changes with the speed remaining constant, both the direction and speed change simultaneously. So these are the factors we have observed, right? So in the previous example, both direction and speed has changed. In the circular path, even though the speed is constant, direction has been changed. Likewise, we have observed these factors and we have come to the conclusion that even the speed change, either the speed changes or the velocity change or the direction changes, or both the speed and direction changes, velocity gets changed. And if the velocity changes, then it is considered to be in the non-uniform motion. Is that clear? So concept of non-uniform motion. So till now we have learned about what is a vector quantity, what is a scalar quantity, what is meant by distance, what is meant by displacement, and what is a uniform motion, what is a non-uniform motion, what is average speed, average velocity. So now we are going to learn about acceleration. So if you understand all those previous concepts, you can easily understand this acceleration. So see here, what is meant by acceleration? The rate of change of velocity of an object is called acceleration. So let us see here. Encompassing changes both in speed and direction. So what they are telling here, velocity change depends both on the change in speed and the change in the direction. So this is known as acceleration. So all of you see here the path A, B, C. So here we have thrown one stone, or some vehicle is traveling in this path. Let us say one bus is there and it is traveling in this curved path. So what will be there? Here at the point A, the velocity of the bus, the direction of the velocity of the bus is in this direction, upward. And here let us see at point B, that at that point the instantaneous velocity of the bus is changed, and at the point C it has been further changed. So at each and every point the instantaneous velocity of the bus is getting changed. Since the velocity is getting changed, it is said to be in the acceleration. So let us see, acceleration is acceleration a scalar or a vector quantity? Acceleration is a scalar quantity. Why acceleration is known as scalar quantity? Is it scalar? No. Acceleration is a vector quantity. Why? Because velocity is a vector here. Velocity is a vector. So in the same way, since acceleration is depending on the velocity, acceleration is also a vector and is directed along the direction of the change in velocity. So the SI unit of the acceleration is meter per second square. What is again SI means? SI means standard international unit. So the standard international unit of the acceleration is meter per second square. So let us see here. Acceleration is uniform when equal changes of velocity occur in equal intervals of time. So what is said to be uniform acceleration? Equal changes of velocities occur, then it is said to be in equal uniform acceleration. So let us say, here in the curved path, if the bus is traveling, if the instantaneous velocity or the velocity changes uniformly, that is at point A it is 30 kilometers per hour, and at the point B if it is 35 kilometers per hour, and at the point C it is 40 kilometers per hour, then what is the difference between the two consequent velocities? At point A it is 30 kilometers per hour, and at the point B it is 35 kilometers per hour. What is the difference? 5 kilometers per hour. Again, you consider at point B and point C. At point B the velocity is 35 kilometers per hour, and at the point C it is 40 kilometers per hour. So what is the difference? Again 5 kilometers per hour. So the difference is uniform, same, that is 5 kilometers per hour. So it is said to be, if the velocity changes in the equal intervals of time, then it is said to be in the uniform acceleration. Okay, so here the rate of change of velocity is same, which is 5 kilometers per hour. So the acceleration is said to be uniform. Next, the body is said to be in the acceleration not only when there is an increase in the velocity, but also a decrease in the velocity. So let us say, here we are considering that at point A bus has been traveling with 30 kilometers, and at the point C it has been traveling with 40 kilometers per hour, and at point B 35 kilometers per hour. So we are considering this path as bus has been gradually increasing its acceleration. So let us consider the same path, like the bus has been applying the brakes and decreasing the speed or decreasing the velocity. So let us say here, at point A the the velocity of the bus is 40 kilometers per hour, and at point B it is 35 kilometers per hour, and at point C it is 30 kilometers per hour. So when you consider these three, then here the velocity is decreasing. In the first case, the velocity has been increasing gradually, and in the second case, now we are considering the bus has been coming slowly, gradually to a stop, and it has been decreasing its velocity. So either the bus may increase the velocity or it may decrease the velocity. The bus is said to be in the acceleration. So the term acceleration applies not only when we are increasing the velocity, but when we are decreasing the velocity. So the bus is said to be in the uniform acceleration, no matter whatever, whether it is increasing the velocity or it is decreasing, it is said to be in the uniform acceleration. Okay, so if the bus is decreasing the velocity, then it is termed as deceleration. What is it called as? Deceleration. Just the term is different. Deceleration. Okay, increasing of velocity is acceleration, then decreasing of the velocity is deceleration. But either it is gradually increasing the velocity or gradually decreasing the velocity, the bus is said to be in uniformity. Is it clear? Next, understand, or if you have any doubts in this one, you once again refer to this and try to do yourself on the paper, so that you will understand easily the what type of the calculations we are performing. And see here, v is equal to u plus at, s is equal to ut plus half at square, v square minus u square is equal to 2as. So these are the equations of the motion we have derived, and using those equations of the motions, we have to remember these following points. The quantities measured to the right are taken as positive, and these measured to the left are taken as negative. So see here, at one point, if see the diagram below, when the arrow is on the right side, we are taking the plus. Otherwise, when the arrow is on the left side, we are taking as minus. So if the object is moving in this direction, we are taking plus. Velocity or any quantity, we are taking it as a positive, and in the opposite direction as negative. And in the same way, expressing the displacement with proper sign is also important. Displacement is positive while measured along the positive direction, and is negative while measured along. So what does that mean? If we are measuring the displacement in the right side direction, which is positive direction, then the value of the displacement is positive. If we are measuring the displacement in the negative direction, then the value will be negative. And again, expressing the displacement is with proper sign is very, very important. So what we have to remember here? We have to remember that the quantities which are taken on the left side will be positive, and also on the right side will be positive, and on the left side will be negative. So right side, if we take the velocity and the displacement, then those values will be positive values. If we are considering the values on the left side, like left side velocity and left side displacement, then their values will be negative while using the equations of motion. Is that clear? So when you are substituting the values, or while you are doing the problems, you have to substitute the values with a proper sign. Is it clear? So thank you very much for listening to the video. If you have any doubts, please refer to SCRT Telangana Class 9 Physical Science Textbook, Chapter 2 Motion. Thank you.